Back here on HQ Spotlight, new year, new head coach. That's the case for 7 teams in the NFL this year. You see them laid out right in front of you. Now that OTAs, free agency, the draft, all of that is behind us, we're actually going to rank all these new head coaches in terms of the difficulties that lie ahead, really putting them into categories. So coaches that are set up for success, ones that have a little bit of work to do, kind of middle of the road, and then also coaches that have a long road ahead for the upcoming season. And to help us do just that, we're going to welcome in Bryant McFadden. BMAC, you're going to help us go through all these 7 coaches, and we're going to kind of put them in a bucket and where they belong. So we were starting with coaches that are set up for success. We have 4 coaches in your eyes that are in this category, starting with Ben Johnson, of course, because you have to think he's going to be in this category if he has the former #1 overall pick as a starting quarterback there in Chicago.
Yeah, no question. Ben Johnson is set up for success. When you just look at the talent alone on this team, starting with the quarterback, as you mentioned, one of the more talented quarterbacks that we've seen in the last few years that was a top pick. We saw some of that talent surface a year ago, but because of the dysfunction that was there offensively and also the offensive line being atrocious, he didn't really get a chance to show you what he can do. But in terms of improving the talent, a revamped offensive line, starting with Drew Dahlman, not to mention Joe Thuney, a champion, that should improve the offensive line in totality to make Caleb Williams be in a more comfortable situation for him to be at his best. So when you factor in the talent alone, offensively and defensively, along with the creativity that Ben Johnson will add to the fold, this is a great situation for Ben Johnson to really put the Chicago Bears in a category they haven't been in quite some time. And outside of Ben Johnson, you see there in your graphic, Jacqueline, look at Mike Vrabel. Let's start with Mike Vrabel. Number one, the bar is very, very low for the Patriots. They only won 3 games a year ago. But when you factor in the addition of outstanding, experienced, talented players, I love what they've done, adding Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Carlton Davis, Stephon Diggs, and then you look at some of the draft guys, Will Campbell, Travion Henderson. They improved mightily with their roster via free agency and what they did throughout the draft. And then when you look at the coaching that they have, outside of Sean McDermott, Jacqueline, I don't know if there's another coach you would take over Mike Vrabel. That's a big time plus for the New England Patriots. So I love what they have going, and no question, he is set up for success as well. Let's go down to your Duval, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lim Cohen, he is set up for success. Let's keep it real, because if you look at the magic he was able to create with Baker Mayfield, the expectations should be high for Trevor Lawrence, because one would say, if you ask football fans this question, who is the more talented quarterback? Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield. I think the consensus would say, Jacqueline, Trevor Lawrence. So if Lim Cohen was able to make magic happen with Baker Mayfield, wow, Jacksonville, it's going to be a lot of rabbits disappearing there in the stadium, because magic will be happening from start to finish with Trevor Lawrence, not to mention the talent as well, adding Travis Hunter to the fold, wide receiver-wise, along with Brian Thomas Jr. They have talent surrounding their talented quarterback, and one would think Lim Cohen can get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, which is a big-time plus. And then let's go down to Dallas. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, you look at Brian Schottenheimer. Yes, he's a rookie head coach, but he's set up for success, and this is all about the quarterback, the experience. You can say whatever you want to say about Dak Prescott not having the success you would want him to have in postseason play. But one thing you won't question, regular season play. He's been a double-digit quarterback, being able to make things happen, be consistent, and getting the most out of the guys that are surrounding him. That's who Dak Prescott has been. And get this might be the best offense that Dak Prescott will be a part of throughout his professional career in Dallas. When you add a guy like George Pickens, you now have 2 legit wide receiver 1 options in CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Don't forget about Tyler Booker, a first-round selection, implementing him on the offensive line. That should make everything flow a little smoother for Dak Prescott and the entire offense. So if you look at Schottenheimer, you can say whatever you want to say about the hate the Cowboys receive. I believe he is set up for success based on his star quarterback, along with the key additions they've added.
Yeah, to your point, you can say whatever you want about Dak, but it wasn't that long ago we're talking about him in the MVP conversation. So he's a really great quarterback. Let's move on to the next category, which is work to do. We have two coaches that are here. We have Pete Carroll and Aaron Glenn. So when I'm looking at the Raiders, if we just look at their offseason alone, BMAC, it looks pretty good in the draft, right? You get Geno, you sign Max Crosby to this record-breaking deal at the time. You draft Ashton Genty. So why is Pete Carroll, let's start there, why is he still in the work to do column?
Well, a few reasons. Here's why. Number one, let's start the division, Jacqueline. The AFC West. The three other teams in the AFC West, they all made the playoffs a year ago, and they improved mightily from 2024. That's one issue for the Las Vegas Raiders, the teams in the division, right? And then secondly, you talked about adding Geno Smith. That's a big time plus. But outside of Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, who is going to step up to the plate to be another reliable pass-catching option for Geno Smith? They have some guys, but until we see it on the football field in a consistent rate like we've seen from Jacoby and Brock, that's a question. That's a major concern. And then if you want to get the best out of Geno Smith, your offensive line, they have to do a better job. They allowed 50 sacks a year ago. That was top in the AFC West, number one, which is not the stat you want to be in. That was top 8 in the National Football League. They did a horrible job in protecting their quarterback. Now they added some pieces to the offensive line, but you need to be much improved if you want to get the best out of your quarterback. And lastly, for me, in the secondary, they allowed 29 passing touchdowns. That was top 6 in the National Football League. That's not good. So yes, they've added some pieces to the secondary, Jacqueline, but when you're playing against Pat Mahomes twice a year, Justin Herbert twice a year, and Bo Nix led with Sean Payton twice a year, you better make sure you got some cover guys in the back end. And those are major concerns because they gave up a lot a year ago, and even if they improve, they need to improve mightily to be able to be relevant in their division. And then when I transition to Aaron Glenn with the Jets, I do believe this will be a competitive team, Jacqueline, for Aaron Glenn, right? But the key concerns for me, how long will it take for this roster to buy into this new culture that he is creating there in New York? Sometimes it takes longer than the others. We don't know, but that's a question mark for me. And lastly, Justin Fields, who I really, really love as a passer, as a quarterback, but throughout his professional career as a starter, Jacqueline, his win-loss record is 14-30. Unfortunately, there haven't been an offensive play caller that has been able to unlock his star potential that will transition into wins. We saw a glimpse of that a year ago in his 6 starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But remember, when Russell became healthy, they went to Russell. So it's something about the inability of Justin Fields or the coaches that are surrounding him that can really unleash this great talent that we know he has that will transition into more wins than losses. Can they get it done this year in year 1? Because if you're a Jets fans, you might not have the excitement that you had 2 years ago when Aaron Rodgers made it known he would be a part of your organization, but there is still excitement there, and they want to see things flourish in a drastic way for them to be able to be at their best. But I think those two things could take some time for Aaron Glenn and his staff. That's why I believe they still have some work to do.
And we know it takes some time. That's not something that Jets fans want to hear right now because they want to get to the playoffs. It has been quite some time since they have done that. Finally, long road ahead in this category. I don't think anyone is going to question you here, but it's Kellen Moore by himself falling into it. And there's a lot for him to sort out there with the Saints.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, the good thing about Kellen Moore, the last game he coached in New Orleans was a Super Bowl, and they won. They won that victory. So he had some pleasant memories being there in New Orleans. But it's going to be a long road ahead, and here's why. This is a roster from top to bottom. They lack talent, right? I mean, if you had to rank the talented teams in the NFC South, I mean, you might have the Saints dead last. And this is not a very, very competitive division like some of the other divisions in the National Football League. And secondly, when you talk about the issue with talent, who's going to play quarterback? All right, when Derek Carr decided to call it quits, it really left a major void at that position. You know, so who's going to step up to the plate to play quarterback, and can they sustain the level of play that is needed for a full calendar season, for a full season? We don't know. Those are all major concerns. So you talk about having concerns with the overall talent element and then having concerns at the quarterback position. That's not the mindset you would like to walk into the NFL season, knowing that these are things that you will have to face. That's why I do believe for Kellen Moore, it's a long way to go. 2025 won't be the year. This is a rebuild type of situation, and hopefully the fan base there in New Orleans will have patience, because they would need to exercise that.
Yeah, and the Saints, they opened the season back-to-back home games with the Cardinals and the Niners. Feedback, we certainly appreciate it as we dive in to the 7 first-year coaches that we have in the NFL. And here are the different tiers, according to BMAC. Set up for success: Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Brian Schottenheimer, and Liam Cohen. Some work to do: Pete Carroll and Aaron Glenn. And a long road ahead for Kellen Moore, according to BMAC.